there have been growing calls for government to ban gatherings amid the sharp increase in new COVID-19 infections. Under the current lockdown level 3, gatherings are limited to 50 people indoors and 100 people outdoors. eNCA's Manqoba Mchunu is checking to see if the religious groups are following those rules. Manqoba, of course, today being a Sunday, I assume that, some of the churches are at least adhering to the current regulations?
Indeed, Masiho, and in fact we are here in Midrand at the World Changes SA Church, and of course we have observed the service which just finished just a few minutes ago, in fact, Masiho, at 10:30, and I can tell you, Masiho, that this particular church is one of those that is really taking the issue of lockdown regulations as well as avoiding social gathering at all costs. In fact, this morning we did observe an online session that was perhaps carried out by this particular church to its members. So, as you can see here, Masiho, it's quite empty here. There were no church members here in church today. They all had to log in online to follow it on social media, on Facebook, on YouTube, on the various platforms that have been made available for them. But of course, the religious sector anxiously awaiting that decision or that announcement by President Cyril Ramaphosa when he speaks or addresses the nation today. Of course, they have been one of the sectors that have been hard hit by the lockdown. We recall, Masiho, that during the hard lockdown last year, the church sector had to close its doors for almost 3 months. And again, we saw that in December and during the Easter period, where church or congregants, the number of people who could congregate was also reduced quite significantly. Just to get a sense, though, Masiho, of what it is that I expect to hear from the President, I'm joined by Pastor Giet Khosa, who is the pastor here at World Changes Church SA. Pastor, thank you for your time and thank you for allowing us into your service this morning. Let's start here. The President is addressing the nation. Of course, many churches are looking forward to what he has to say in terms of whether we are moving to stricter restrictions or, in fact, a higher level of lockdown. What are your expectations as the church?
Thank you so much, Manqoba, for having us here, and thank you so much for just coming here to observe. Well, indeed, these are difficult times, these are challenging times. I just want to say this to South Africans before I comment, is to say that we don't have to panic, but we have to be disciplined. We have to do what is right. Observe the hygiene protocols that have been put in place. So what the President will speak about, listening and looking at the numbers. Obviously, there will be harsher restriction in terms of the gathering. We know that the scientists have already called for that. And so for us as the religious sector, we're waiting to hear what he's going to say, and we'll respond accordingly. This is what we have said even from the beginning, that it's not opening churches at all costs. We have said even last time before Easter that if the numbers are down, allow us to gather. But when the numbers goes up, we'll respond accordingly. So the religious are out there on record saying that when the numbers are high, we'll respond. And as a matter of fact, I can say this, that the religious leaders will be meeting, most of them this week, to see how best to respond. Because what we want to do, we want to assist our government, we want to partner our government to overcome this scourge, to overcome this pandemic. No pastor, no religious leader, no church leader wanted to expose their members to this pandemic. So we'll do whatever we can. And what we have always said, we want to open our churches safely. We want to worship safely. So the safety of our members is a priority for all of us. So whatever the President will say, we'll respond accordingly. And we know, I mean, there's no even, it goes without saying, if you're looking at the numbers, particularly here in Gauteng, the numbers are extremely high. So here as a church, as you have said in your opening, is that we have taken that cautious decision to say, look, people must go online. We have few members here that are technical or the band, so that we make sure that people are protected. So we're waiting to what the President will say, and we'll support. The call we're making is that we will support, we'll do whatever we can, and we're asking our people to follow whatever the President has to say in support of what, we need to protect life at all costs.
But in terms of course, the church also, has its own needs. It has its own expenses that it needs to pay. How does then this hard lockdown and, perhaps online services affect your coffers as a church?
It's very difficult to do church. Remember, the religious sector and the churches are not assisted by government in any way. So it's very difficult. And remember also, the people that we call our members are the people in the community that are suffering exactly as everyone is suffering. So it's very difficult because literally you're creating two churches. One online and one here, but here we didn't have anyone, but we have to have the streaming. The streaming is a cost, being online is a cost, it costs the members data. So what we do, we assist some of members with the data to make sure they're able to join, particularly the elderly. So it's very difficult, but what we have in mind is that we want to support, because this time people are suffering from depression, anxiety, worry, concern, and so we're confronting that to encourage our people that whatever the cost is, we will preach the gospel. We'll encourage people. So our main aim is to encourage people in every way, to pray with them, to make sure people stay in, hang on there. We will get through this. So it's costly, but we're putting our members first.
Okay, and then just finally, in terms of, I know your church, of course, you collect your tithes through an online platform. You ask your members to donate in that particular platform. But what about the smaller churches, the ones that simply cannot afford to go online? What perhaps do you think should be done for those churches? Does government have to get more involved in terms of trying to assist these churches? Because we spoke to some of them, and they're saying that they're simply losing their livelihoods with this hard lockdown.
Okay. So churches are huge, and they have big impact on our communities. Remember, Manqoba, when people sick, pastors must pray for them. When people die, we must bury them. So when the smaller churches, particularly in the rural area and the township, doesn't get help from government, which the leadership has appealed to our government to assist the churches. Because if you lose a church in a community, I'm talking about a good church that is there for the community, help the community, you actually impact the community negatively. Who bury the people? Who support the people that are bereavement? Who support the people that are mourning? Because we carry that load. So we're there with the people all the way to the grave. And if the churches disappear in the community, not only that you impact the community negatively, you're creating a new wave, which anxiety, worry, because no one to encourage them. So this will still make a call. Assist the churches in terms of us doing what we're supposed to do. Even if when you look at this vaccination, the churches will be the last, or the pastors, and the last to be prioritized. But remember, we are the one who bury the people. We are there with the people. So whatever happens in the community, we are there with the people. And it's quite strange that we're not even prioritized. We're just one of those who are there. But whether you're a taxi person, a business person, it doesn't matter who you are. When you die, you need a religious leader or a church person to put you on the ground. So I just think that the government must just open their eyes to see we are not the enemy of the state. We are here to work and support the state. So help us, let's partner. We can overcome this pandemic when we work together, when we partner together. So that's our call. So it's very difficult there. It's very difficult. Some churches use WhatsApp to minister the gospel and send to the people. Think about the old people, So those are the things that from us, you have to buy the data and make sure people are able to join online. It's very, very costly. But we're willing to do whatever we can to support our people. And we're making a call. Let's obey the hygiene protocols. Let's do what we can. We don't have to panic. We don't have to worry. We will overcome, but we've got to be disciplined and focused. We'll get over on the other side.
And just last, in terms of your own church, I mean, how has it been doing in terms of, receiving some of those funds and donations from people? Are you seeing that coming through, especially given the economic condition that we find ourselves in under lockdown, where many people have lost their jobs as well? How has it been for you as a church?
I'll be straightforward with you. People are scared to talk about money. There is no money. People don't have money. So we do with whatever we have. As a pastor, you've got to make sure the church runs. People don't have money. So simple as that. That's a straightforward answer. And we're doing our best to make sure we stay online, we're preaching the gospel. And this is the time that people always accuse some other pastors that they're there for a money. We're not here for a money. We're here to look after the people during this time. So the bottom line is that people don't have money, are going through like anyone is going through. We're there, we're supporting, we're feeding, we're making sure people are getting the help.
Okay, thank you. A pleasure talking to you, Pastor Giet Khosa from the World Changes Church SA here in Mitra, and of course raising some of the pertinent issues that some of the religious leaders are raising in terms of government support, in terms of partnering with government to ensure perhaps that that message of compliance reaches the masses, and that they play a bigger role in trying to also mobilize people to get vaccinated. So those are some of the pertinent issues. But in terms of that announcement by the President, the church and this particular church leader saying that they are willing to support government at all costs.